guys, and welcome back to part 2 of my Disney theory video. Are spirits the reason for magical powers in Disney movies? Now, if you haven't seen part 1 yet, please click the card above to catch up. This video is not going to make much sense if you haven't seen the first part yet. Anyways, let's continue. So in the last video, I began to examine how a handful of human characters in Disney movies are able to use magic. I determined that spirits can indeed grant humans the ability to use these powers, but how they choose to use these powers will have consequences. In the last video, we looked at Elsa, Rapunzel, Dr. Facilier, and Maui. In today's video, we're going to dive into how non-human characters are able to use magic and where their magic comes from. Today, we're going to be focusing on the fairy godmother from Cinderella, Genie from Aladdin, and the big baddie himself, Chernabog from Fantasia. Alright, so let's get right into it. First off, fairy godmother. Now, although fairy godmother looks like a human, she's not. She's a fairy. When I watched Cinderella as a kid, and even now as an adult, I always got the feeling that the fairy godmother was less a fairy and more of a guardian angel figure. She even tells Cinderella when Cinderella's at her lowest point that,
"If you'd lost all your faith, I couldn't be here. And here I am."
I think that this line in particular is interesting for the fact that religion and spirituality are very much based on faith. Keep that in mind. When I googled what is a fairy, a few different articles popped up and I clicked on one of the first ones that I found and was surprised to find it comparing fairies to, what do you think? You have your idea? Okay. Well, it compared fairies to angels. Now, I thought that was pretty cool because I myself even said that the fairy godmother was more like a guardian angel to Cinderella. So here's an excerpt that I found. Fairies, much like angels, are interdimensional beings who live in a realm between realms. Fairies are very much real spiritual beings, just as angels are real spiritual beings. Angels are beings whose purpose revolves around carrying out the divine will and serving humanity. Fairies' roles, on the other hand, largely revolve around serving, taking care of, and nurturing the earth. So if we take this quote into consideration, then we can argue that fairy godmother is more so an angel to Cinderella than she is a fairy, just on the fact that her purpose is to help Cinderella, not nurture the earth. Although, she does have a way with pumpkins. Now, let's look at Genie. Right off the bat, Genie, at least to me, doesn't look very human. In fact, he looks more ghoulish, if anything. And I'll be honest, before this video, the only genies I was familiar with were Genie from Aladdin, the Genie from Once Upon a Time, and Genie from I Dream of Genie. As I looked into the origins of genies, I was surprised to find this. Though belief in jinn, aka genies, predates the creation of Islam, the creatures are referenced in the Quran, the Muslim holy book. The Quran states Allah created 3 types of beings from 3 substances: humans, made of earth, angels, made of light, and jinn, made of smokeless fire. Jinn share many traits with angels, fairies, ghosts, and other supernatural creatures. Many Muslims believe in the literal existence of jinn, just as many Christians believe in the literal existence of angels. Muslim theologians have debated the nature of jinn, whether they have physical bodies, where they live, how they interact with us, and so on. So here we have yet another comparison, this time comparing genies and angels. Genies are higher powered beings who have the ability to manipulate their environments. Although Genie from Aladdin doesn't look how, historically speaking, jinn have been portrayed, as they have been described as looking more human, I think that how Disney chose to portray their genie is saying something. They depict him as more of a whimsical character. His faint, smoky tail kind of gives him this spirity, ghoulish look to him. Now, I want you to take a look at these Disney ghosts that I have here. I bet you can find something in common with all of these guys and Genie. They're blue, they're transparent, and they have a blurry smokiness to them. I believe that Genie is a spirit who, similarly to the fairy godmother, has a purpose to serve humans. Now, how they use their magic is different. I'm bringing back an idea from part 1 of this video. Magic users have limitations on their powers depending on how they choose to use them. If they use their magic for good, then that's great. They can continue to use it with no limitations, no consequences. On the other hand, if they choose to use it selfishly, there's gonna be consequences. They're gonna face some kind of punishment one way or another. In Dr. Facilier's case, going back to last week's video, he had to make a deal with evil spirits in order to continue using magic. And since he wasn't able to repay them in time, his soul was damned to the other side. Maui, after stealing the heart of Te Fiti, was stuck on an island, unable to get off. Genie even states,
"Phenomenal cosmic powers!"
Itty bitty living space.
Genie has unlimited powers, and yet he's unable to use them for himself. Perhaps similar to Maui, Genie was gifted these powers from a higher spiritual being, but made a mistake somewhere down the road. Perhaps he acted selfishly with these powers, and this could have ultimately led to a punishment which said, hey, you get to keep these powers, but you're gonna spend the rest of all eternity only using them to grant wishes for other people. Can't use them on yourself. Finally, we have Chernabog. Chernabog is perhaps the epitome of pure evil. I personally give that award to Cruella. I mean, who kills puppies?
I only wish to have a coat made out of toppings!
Why would you do that?
But I digress. Historically speaking, Chernabog is a Slavic deity. His name literally means black god. Chernabog first appears in the Fantasia segment, Night on Bald Mountain. He has the power to summon fire, spirits, demons, and basically has full and total control over these beings. He can create life from fire and turn them into animals, and then throw them into the pits of hell. Chernabog is actually really scary, and they thought kids would like this? What's perhaps the scariest thing about him is that there's no consequences for his atrocious actions. At least, not that any we can see up front. The only thing that can put him back in his place on top of the mountain is the tolling of church bells in the distance and the dawn of a new day. This could be the limitation to his powers. He's enslaved on top of Bald Mountain, unable to leave. He's forced to hide as soon as the sunlight breaks through. This is similar to Genie in the sense that they both have these crazy powers, and yet there's also these powerful limitations on how they can use them. In Chernabog's case, he can only use his powers at night and on the spirits in the nearby cemetery. And similar to Maui's situation, in the case that neither one of them can leave their respective environments, whether it be mountain or island. All in all, once again, there is a consistent connection between magic users and spirits. Magic seems to come from an all-powerful spiritual source. Similarly to how there are limitations to human magic wielders, there are limitations to how all magic is used. Good users have total control of their powers, whereas selfish users, or even users with evil intentions, will suffer the consequences of their actions. Well, that's all I got for this video. I guess it is gonna be a 3-part theory. I promise though, next week's video is gonna be the last one. There's no more after that. I'm sticking to 3. Tres. That's it. Next week, we'll be looking into how ancestors play a part in all of this. As always, you are much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Click here to subscribe if you enjoy my content and would like to see more. And click here for my Disney Theory playlist. That's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.